Hi, I'm Julie Marsh and I'm a Senior Associate Solicitor in the Medical Negligence team at Boys Turner. The team and I regularly work with individuals who have suffered a brain injury. This might have been caused as a result of mistakes made at the time of someone's birth, as a result of a bleed on the brain, or it might have happened as a result of a traumatic accident. We help to support the injured individual and their family through the litigation process. We know that we cannot reverse the brain injury. However, we aim to recover compensation which will offer a degree of financial security for the remainder of their life and enable the injured person to access everything they need to lead a full and fulfilled life. Once the liability issues in a claim are resolved, it's usually possible to access interim funds for the injured individual. Then we can actually start to offer practical help on the ground. One of the key introductions we often make at that time to our clients is to introduce them to a case manager. Today, I'm speaking to Imelda Molloy, a case manager with Independent Living Solutions. Imelda's joining me today to explain a little bit more about what a case manager can offer and how they can assist an injured individual and their family. Hi Imelda, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thanks Julie, it's great to talk to you today.
And you. Imelda, it'd be great to learn a little bit more about you, your training and background and how you came to be a case manager.
Certainly. So I trained in physiotherapy at the University of Hertfordshire. Following my degree, I started working as a physio assistant at the Evelina London Children's Hospital, and that really cemented my opinion that I wanted to specialise in paediatrics. I then moved into paediatric physiotherapy roles within the community setting, working in health centres, mainstream and special educational needs schools, and the client's home. I found that as a paediatric physio, especially specialising in neurodisability, I was often an informal key person for the clients, as you tend to be involved with them for significant periods of time and were continuously involved professional. And so they would often contact and ask me to liaise with other services, follow up on appointments, etc. And it was frustrating as I felt that within the role of physio, there was only so far you could take this, such as making the referral, etc. So I then looked into the role of case management, and it became apparent that within this role, you could become really involved in a variety of aspects of your client's needs and progress with these needs in order to achieve the best outcomes for your client. So I was really drawn to this aspect of the role. And so after some research into case management companies, I decided to apply for ILS, and I've been currently working with them for the last 20 months.
That's really interesting. So a really varied role before you came to case management.
Yes, certainly.
And can you explain to people watching this interview what the role of a case manager is and how they help an injured individual and how they support the wider family?
Yeah, of course. So when a person's life is changed by an injury, case managers are here to address their individual needs and provide expert support. Case management services are tailored to the specific needs of the client and their family, and they're designed to maximise independence in a caring and supportive way. Case management support usually starts with an immediate needs assessment, which allows the case manager to meet with the client and their family and discuss their needs and priorities, and then develop case management recommendations from this. Case management is a dynamic process, so it therefore changes and adapts over time according to the needs of the client as these may change. Case managers can help the injured individual and support the wider family in a variety of ways, such as sourcing of appropriate therapists, accessing the recruitment of a care team, researching appropriate leisure activities, and assistance with purchasing and adapting a property. As I said, the role is extremely wide-ranging, as it should be, in order to be tailored specifically to each client, as every client is different and has a variety of needs. As we touched upon, case management support may also evolve over time. So, for example, if a family is starting to think about introducing a care team, they may want to initially see how this would work for the injured individual and the family. It may be a case that a buddy or some care hours over the weekend or holiday would be a good starting point before building up to a care team when the client and family feel ready to.
And certainly that's something we see with clients, is that it needs to be a gradual process and also, as you say, an ever-evolving one.
Yes, definitely.
And please, can you talk a little bit about the role of the multidisciplinary team, the MDT, in helping injured people and all of those people that make up that team?
Yes, certainly. So the multidisciplinary team forms an essential part of an injured person's rehabilitation. So the multidisciplinary team can include therapists that lots of people are familiar with, such as occupational therapists, physios and speech and language therapists, but also other professionals such as psychologists, consultants, and other services such as vision impairment services. Following injury, assessment takes place with the required professional, and then subsequent recommendations are made for input along with therapeutic goals according to the needs of the client to maximise their potential. Case management support within this can include the sourcing of appropriate therapists and maintaining that communication with therapists as to a client's needs and progress, chairing MDT meetings, and liaison with the injured person's solicitor or deputy to ensure that the therapist recommendations are able to be carried out. The multidisciplinary team should work in a coordinated way with close liaison between professionals to work towards the client's goals, and the case manager is often involved in assisting and supporting this coordinated approach to therapy. And this can be between private therapists and with statutory and private services also.
And I think my experience is that certainly we found that the case manager can be the linchpin in that multidisciplinary team. It's a really vital role to liaise with all the professionals and, as you say, both private and statutory services.
Yeah.
So what's your mission statement, or what do you try and keep at the forefront of your mind when you're helping a family? And can it sometimes be hard to help?
So as a case manager working within ILS, I try to achieve and maintain the ILS values. So these include being client-centred and putting the client's aspirations at the centre of everything that I do, being supportive, positive, and finding solutions to empower others, setting high standards with the aim of exceeding them, and ensuring that I work in a professional, honest and transparent way. I think clear communication is really essential for effective case management support. So sometimes if communication is lacking between the clients or the client's family and the case manager, it can be hard to help. As a case manager, working on behalf of your client to meet their needs. And so effective communication is essential in order to enable this.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on that front about effective communication. And in your previous roles, you've worked to help individuals who've transitioned from child services to young adult and adult services. And can you tell us a bit more about the issues that you faced during that process?
Yes, of course. And this was an area that I did work and specialise in my previous roles. And it was certainly identified that the process of transition to adult services for young people needed to start earlier. So previously, when the process started later, young adults and their family carers were approaching a time when they needed to transition to adult services. And so many felt unprepared and anxious regarding this. So often within paediatric services, clients, parents and carers have remained under the care of a number of healthcare professionals within the multidisciplinary team, frequently under the community paediatrician with additional tertiary services as required, and that provided a coordinated approach to their care. So becoming aware that services and the care approach would likely change within adult services was often quite stressful and an uncertain time for many in this situation. And it would sometimes be the situation whereby the young person would likely need to be taking on greater responsibility for their own care and managing this as well. Parents and carers often found it challenging to hand over that responsibility to the young person, as they've been actively involved in their care for a number of years. A useful tool to assist with this, I found, was the Ready, Steady, Go transition programme. This was a questionnaire carried out with the young person at appropriate times during the transition process, which considers different areas of a young person's life and condition and helps to identify what areas they may require further advice or help to support them. And then this additional support and advice can be provided by the most appropriate professional so that the young person is more prepared for their transition. And there's also a parent questionnaire to support parents and carers with this process also. And I found that this was a really beneficial process in removing some of the uncertainty and anxiety regarding the transition.
That sounds really interesting. It's certainly a time that I think a lot of clients worry. There's a lot of change.
Yes.
And as you say, you often find that an individual with a relatively mild brain injury actually wants to become more involved in their own care and how their own needs are met. So it's a really difficult and challenging time, I expect, us to be a case manager.
Yes.
And can you explain how you work alongside social services and other support organisations to support an injured individual?
Yeah, so as a case manager, you frequently work with additional support organisations to help support your client, and this may include social services. This involves a close liaison between the case manager and the support organisations. so that you can ensure that your clients are aware of what services are available to them, how they can go about accessing them, with the support of the case manager as required. And so again, as case management aims to meet the tailored needs of the client, this is required to maximise independence and optimal potential. Case managers also work with the NHS clinical commissioning groups, known as CCGs, for clients who have a care provided via NHS continuing healthcare. So this can be a complete package or can be part of a package of care, with the case manager arranging private care in conjunction with it. Case managers are often involved in the assessment process with the CCGs to ensure that the client's needs are identified and to identify any gaps in their care provision also.
Great. So when I meet a client and their family to talk about a case manager, often a significant period of time has passed since the injury occurred. The family have developed their own way of caring for and supporting the injured person. I think we can all understand and relate to how difficult it is to introduce a stranger into your family, into your life, and suddenly be reliant on them to do things that you've had to manage and cope with doing for so long. Parents often describe to me the inevitable feelings about loss of control, feelings of guilt, feeling that you need to ask for help. And those issues all come when you're accepting a case manager into the role. These are, amongst others, common themes which we see a lot with the families and parents of the children that we help, but are also reflected in the families of anyone who's suffered a life-changing injury. What would you say to those parents who are concerned about introducing and accepting a case manager?
Yes, I completely understand and empathise with, as you say, Julie, that families often have developed their own ways of caring and supporting the injured person, and the feeling that they may have about the loss of control that they may experience. And I always try to keep this at the forefront of my mind. What I like to do and explain to parents is that case management input is there to support you and is done in conjunction with the client and the family, and not to take away that control from the family, but done to assist and support. So if there are issues that the family wish to work on independently, that is absolutely fine, but so that the parents know that the case manager is there to support with the issues that may require assistance, or that parents don't want to take on independently, and they can always approach and we can work on that together.
Brilliant. And how important do you think the role of a case manager can be whilst a litigation claim is ongoing?
I feel that the role of a case manager can be very important whilst a litigation claim is ongoing. Case managers can support in establishing the needs of the client, being an advocate for the client, and being able to demonstrate how funds are needed and can be used in order to enable the injured person to access what they require to be able to reach their maximum potential.
Yeah, it's certainly been my experience in the past. It's been just invaluable to have a case manager on the ground who can help explain things and can help parents identify what the need is for an injured individual, or to help an injured person identify what their need is, and then help them find a way to access what they need to support them in doing that. So yeah, they're invaluable. Thank you for joining me today, Imelda. I think it's really important that people understand just how valuable a case manager can be. And it's been really interesting to learn more about the role of a case manager and how a case manager can add an extra layer of support and backup to the injured individual and their family, both during and after the claims process. Thanks.
Thank you for inviting me.